Hello, everybody, and welcome to Breaking Ponies, where
we don't make after production changes just because a couple of people get their panties in a fucking
two
twist.
bowling balls and a bottle of booze.
Anyway, come on, let's get going.
So today we have somewhat controversial episodes.
Well, the first one wasn't that
The first one
controversial.
was fairly standard, but the next one you actually have quite a bit to say about, and you actually told me to
Oh,
wake up
yes.
early for this one because
We
you had
needed the extra
plans.
time.
You have plans today.
I've been practicing this rant I'm going to be going on, so,
Oh, well,
yes.
let's hurry up so we can give you plenty of time to make up on that. Okay, we have Baby Cakes, which was a fairly standard episode, but it was a Pinkie Pie centric one, and she's always fun.
Yep.
So we have the two baker characters, Cupcake and Carrot Cake, who have their
Yes.
two twins, Pound Cake and Pumpkin Cake. They're
Notice
running
the
out of
theme
names for
here.
cake.
I know there's lots of different types of cake in the world. I mean, humans are great at cake, let's be honest.
True.
We just do good cake, and we have so many different cakes.
Black
Because
Forest
you don't
cake.
live long on planet Earth, so if you're going to be here for a while, make a fucking nice cake.
Let's have a nice cake. The big sticking point here is that their two twins are a Pegasus and Unicorn, and the parents are both Earth ponies.
Yeah.
Apparently that runs genetically, like their great grandparents were a Pegasus or Unicorn, so it works out in their favor, or maybe to their detriment, because we prove that they are not easy to take care of at that age.
No, I guess it's just like, kids are kids in that sense.
Indeed they
kids,
are.
Kids are hard to look after in general, let alone the ability to fly
The
or
ability to
magic.
fly or teleport or use telekinesis.
Mm.
So, of course, Pinkie Pie is having fun playing with them because she likes babies. Why wouldn't she?
Well, she likes play.
Yeah. But since the parents have been so busy with them, they completely forgot about this big catering order that they need to bake and deliver and hurry on out because they've obviously been preoccupied. So they need to find someone to help babysit while they complete it.
Well,
Obviously, Pinkie
she
Pie
volunteers,
volunteers.
doesn't she?
She volunteers, but the others, I guess they're not sure she can hold her own.
Yeah.
And they try pretty much anybody else to take care of them, but
pretty much the entire rest of the main six.
Yeah, and they're like, no, we can't. Verity's just, no, I don't want to.
Yeah, she's already got Sweetie Belle to look after, so...
Well, Fluttershy also promised to go on a picnic with Angel Bunny, who was like, well, we're waiting.
Yeah, well, that's just Angel. He is grumpy, very
Yeah, they
grumpy.
try to get literally anybody else, but finally they have to go, okay, you can do it. So the rest of the episode is mostly Jack attack from The Incredibles.
It kind of is, actually.
It's very much like that, where you have the superpowered baby and they need to take care of it.
Yeah, that was a funny short.
So you have the Pegasus flying around, you have the unicorn throwing stuff around. They're just trying to get toys, and they keep trying to chew on things that aren't food. And Pinkie discovers that they really like it when she pours flour on herself.
Yeah, well, it's just kids like slapstick.
Yeah, kids like silly stuff. They're not a big fan of her stand-up, although we do get to see the source of her rim shot clip.
Yeah, the GIF that wanders around online.
GIF also, I'm sure there you can find a video of it just for clip purposes.
Yeah, Pinkie Pie rim shot, I'm sure. Actually, no, don't fucking Google that. Don't fucking Google that.
No, you're thinking rim job.
No, well, to be honest, rim shot, I'm pretty sure that's slightly on the nose as well. Let's not go there.
You sure you want to say on the nose?
Shut up. Hey, you said it. I didn't.
No, you said it. I'm the one who made it dirty.
I'm being perfectly innocent here. You're the one who's turning this into horrible things.
I was the one who started off by saying rim shot, which is a perfectly normal term.
Apparently.
Fairly standard result. She discovers that taking care of kids is not all fun and games, and even though it's strange, the main purpose of the episode seems to be her just kind of playing around and getting in trouble, so the episode seems to be mostly fun and games, at least at Pinkie Pie's expense.
Yeah.
Just to see her suffer from the kids. But things work out in the end, and they want to get her to... I knew that they were going to do this. It's like, you are so perfect, we want to hire you to take care of them all the time. And she's like, no.
I really don't want to do that.
But she discovers, okay, I could do it occasionally, because she really does like the kids. Do these come into play later? Because it seems like it would be kind of a one-off.
I don't think it comes up into play in a big way. I think you sort of see them as background characters from time to time, the babies. I don't remember them coming into play in any major way. Not off the top of my head, anyway.
Pretty
So
standard
yeah,
episode. I mean, you get to see
standard.
Pinkie Pie kind of get beaten up, which is always nice because she tends to take it in stride. And one thing that actually
Yeah.
made sense was the fact that they would have a lot of bags of flour around since they're bakers by trade.
Yeah, it wasted an awful lot though. It wasted like 3 or 4 bags.
Yeah.
It's a lot of flour wasted. And I mean, my favorite bit of the episode is definitely when Pinkie's looking for the flying one, and it kind of turns into a sort of pseudo horror movie,
Oh yeah.
which is brilliantly
They even
well
have
staged.
the music playing, and I was going shh shh shh.
Yeah, exactly. It's very well staged, and it's very both funny, very entertaining. And but yeah, I mean, it's a fairly standard episode, especially compared to the second one.
Yes, the
Which in and of itself is also
was
kind of
also
a
fairly
standard
standard,
episode.
kind of similar to another one, because you do kind of see, well, getting into the next one right off, you do kind of see a trend going on with Applejack where she doesn't like to admit defeat.
Yeah,
She is
in the sense that
she is proud to a fault.
well, it's understandable. I mean, it's usually that the problems they face sort of kind of coincide with their
Personalities.
well, kind of their personalities in that their the elements of harmony stuff, if you remember all that.
Right.
And it kind of plays into that in that largely what they get tested on is stuff to do with their
So it's like the negative
element.
side of their
Like,
positive
yeah, I mean,
aspect.
her element is honesty and sort of that sort of stuff. So she finds herself, because she's so prideful as well, she sort of tends to lie a lot and saying, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, until collapse in that sense.
So we have Applejack training for the Equestria Rodeo, and the town is pretty much all in support of their prize. I guess it'd be a cow filly,
Um, I think they refer to her as cowgirl.
which is strange, but whatever.
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, they still have the phrases of boy and girl,
Yeah.
in terms of basic genders, I think.
They want her to win so that she can bring back all the prize money and they can fix their crumbling town hall. And
Yes.
they're setting up this big going away party for her where they announce how proud they are, and they're preparing a big surprise party for her return when she does, because they're expecting her to just clean up because she has the most medals of anyone else in Ponyville. So they're like she's their star player. So she should be doing great at the rodeo. And when they throw the party for her, she doesn't actually show up.
No, just the
They impressed the telegram delivery guy, who he didn't even know they knew it was his birthday.
which is a bit
They gave him a
mean.
piece of cake at the end, which was nice.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute.
Well, that's Pinkie Pie. She can't resist giving cake to people.
True. So obviously they send her a telegram. She sends them a telegram to say that she's not going to be returning. So they can't take this right. So they have to go out and see why she would do that. So they head back into the town, and they're just taking down the rodeo, and they find out that she's moved to this small rural town called Dodge Junction, which the name was probably just picked up for a pun later in the episode.
Yeah.
Where they say, "Get out of Dodge."
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why, because the name isn't Pony.
It's not a pony
isn't a
pun,
pony
so
pun.
obviously there was another reason they called it that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, and she gets a job as a cherry sorter. Well, they get jobs. She gets a job working at a cherry orchard, and they kind of sign up to be cherry sorters that can track her down. And it ends up being very much like an I Love Lucy episode, which I'm pretty sure this was like an exact reference to the episode where they're working at the chocolate factory, because it's become so iconic with anything dealing with food on a conveyor belt. It's become so iconic to that classic sitcom trope. It's a cliche now, but when it originally came up, it was just it was original and funny.
It was really popular, was it?
I Love Lucy was a really popular show at the time. They had all kinds of celebrities on the show from the time that it came out. So it was an immensely popular show.
I sort of heard of it. I don't know if it ever aired in the UK. Well, it might have aired.
And it was from like the 1950s. So it is
I was going to say, it's a bit before my time, I'm fairly certain.
It was before my time too, but they would show it all the time on TV. They'd show it for like 2 hours every day because it's a cheap show to buy for syndication. It's a cheap show, and it's still very popular. The writing still holds up today, I will say. Yeah, the only things that don't kind of hold up is like the pop culture references, and oftentimes if they talk about money, you kind of have to multiply it by 10 because of inflation. Because like there's one point where he's like yelling at her for spending $8 on something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
$8. Multiply it by 10, so it's like $80, which is a bit of something.
Yeah. I mean, the whole inflation thing is kind of weird when you go back to watch old stuff and you think, bloody hell. So one of the things that I remember is from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because they did an old TV series and then they did the recent movie a few years back. And in the old TV series, they buy 6 beers for $5 and get change. And in the new film, he has to hand over a 20. And it's just like, yeah, that pretty much sums it up, I think, in terms of inflation and how
Yeah,
expensive
pretty
things are.
much. They kind of corner her, and she's like, no, I'm not going to tell you. So they have to use their nuclear option, Pinkie Pie,
Pinkie Pie.
who decides to just be so annoying talking about.
I want to say, I like how you actually question that when it first happened. It's like, we each use our last weapon, and the camera zooms in on Pinkie Pie, and you just went, Pinkie Pie's their nuclear option? And you didn't believe it at first, did you? And
No,
then the actual.
I didn't doubt that she was definitely capable, but I wasn't sure how she would do it.
Ah, right, okay.
So by being incredibly annoying and talking about chimney cherry chungas, chimichurri chungas,
Yeah.
chimichangas, chimicherries,
Chimichurri,
cherry chungas, chimicherries,
chimicherries, cherry chungus.
or combine the two, chimicherry chungas.
Exactly. And she just goes on about that constantly and incessantly
And so she
until
finally
Applejack
agrees. Okay,
snaps.
I'll tell you if you just call her off, I'll tell you at breakfast the next morning, which was the loophole. She decided not to show up to breakfast. She decides to get out of Dodge.
Literally. And I can use literally right this time, so
Yes,
fuck
you
off.
can because that is the name of the city. Of course, we have a stagecoach race where
Yeah, pretty much.
her horses are more than happy to run headlong into an oncoming train because she ordered them to.
Well, paying them quadruple, I
Yeah.
think. So, yeah, although they do abandon her after that.
Yeah, because they realize, hey, we don't get paid enough for this. We're out of here.
Exactly.
So
Although
they
they
end
didn't
up
get
catching
paid at
up,
all
and
at
she
the end.
finally reveals why she didn't want to come back because she didn't come in first place at anything. She came in
Yeah.
second, third, fourth, but not first. And so she didn't want to come back without any prize money, so she figured she could make some money working on the cherry orchard and send it back. So blah blah, love you anyway, blah blah, escaping your problems, blah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly standard sort of conclusion, really. Got the problem, let's fix it. It's all happy and nice.
But the big point of this episode is, I guess, the main meat of our discussion, which is the controversy at the beginning with a
Yeah.
certain character known in the fandom as Derpy Hooves.
Yeah. This was, I mean, for those who don't know, Derpy was a character pretty much created by the
accident.
fandom. Well,
By
yeah, kind of by
accident
accident, really. Because she was a background pony in the first episode who had what I think is referred to as wall eyes.
Yeah, wall eyes. A
Where
wall-eyed
basically
expression.
her eyes were not in the right place. And it's believed that what happened is the background animator was probably just bored and drew this pony with these funny little eyes just to entertain themselves, believing that the pony would be covered up by Twilight, who was in the foreground. But after production, or not after production, but after production of the background and everything, they decided to move the position of Twilight and the other forward characters. So this character was now visible. And it kind of spawned this thing of a kind of Where's Wally thing throughout the episodes where you had to spot
or Where's
Derpy.
Waldo in the US.
Yeah, Where's Waldo in the US. It's kind of a little nod to the fans to say, you recognize
Yeah,
this.
you recognize her. We're hiding her
character.
in certain scenes so you can track her down. I've seen her a couple times.
Yeah, you have to be very quick. Usually she's only on screen for a couple of frames or
Although, to
something.
be fair, you can do that with pretty much any pony. They all have
Yeah.
names, they all have unique looks,
They
and
do,
they
actually.
always
A lot
do
of
kind of
them.
use a lot of the same background characters.
Yeah, and prior to this episode, her biggest role was where she dropped all that stuff on Twilight's head in the Feeling Pinkie Keen episode. It's the one where Twilight is investigating Pinkie Pie's pinky sense.
Right, and she was like moving stuff, yeah.
And she was moving stuff and it fell, and she actually had sort of a natural, almost scene there. She didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But in this episode, she actually speaks.
Yes.
And it was like a really big nod to the fandom because we're sort of like halfway through the second season. By this point, I'm pretty sure the third season was confirmed. And it was kind of just a nod to the fandom. Some people consider that perhaps she should be called Ditzy, I think.
Ditzy-Do. Yeah.
Ditzy-Do, who was a character who was from the Winter Wrap-Up episode, who sort of mentioned in name only, because Ditzy apparently went east for the southern birds. And so some people sort of believe that originally it was supposed to be Ditzy and not Derpy, except for the fact, of course, in the original version, she's actually referred to as Derpy, because I've shown you the comparison video.
Yeah, you did show me the comparison video, and she does quite clearly call her Derpy.
Yeah, I mean, I remember actually watching that episode
When it first aired.
on one of those stream things when it first aired, because we can't get those channels here. here, so I have to go online to watch the original airing. And the comment section was just full of people yelling Derpy at the top of their lungs, just like, oh my god, it's her, because she'd only been a background character, and now suddenly here she was in the foreground with a voice, and showing off that she's like a massive klutz that accidentally destroyed the town hall. There is apparently a cut scene where it actually was going to show her destroying it. That lightning cloud she was bouncing on, she was supposed to be moving that and accidentally knocked it in the wrong direction, and it just destroyed the town hall.
Because as I interpreted it, the town hall was already kind of breaking apart and weak, and that just kind of helped crumble it even more.
Yeah, well, because it is sort of left open to interpretation because they don't actually show it. But it's the idea that I think she is the klutz who accidentally destroyed it. Right. And, she ends up destroying it even more, like, dropping that stuff on Rainbow Dash and everything, right, which is quite funny. And apparently, some people decided to complain about this.
Yes, they complained because, I can see why they would, because they don't... She does come off as something of a stereotype. I guess the word we're looking for here is retarded. The way she talks and the way her eyes look can very much be interpreted as making fun of retarded people.
I suppose you could interpret it like that. One of the things...
I'm sure that's what the people who complained it did interpret it that way. Because the way she talks, she does talk very dopey, and things have changed in animation and TV. Well, yeah. For better or worse. You couldn't have a character like Porky Pig who speaks with a stutter, or somebody even like Daffy Duck who speaks with the spitting and everything. Or Elmer Fudd who speaks with a weird lisp. You can't really... It would be very difficult to create characters like that today and not get people complaining about it. These guys just kind of get a pass because they're a product of their time. They are previously
established characters.
And even then, a lot of characters have gotten a lot of flack. Like Speedy Gonzales got a lot of complaints that he is a Mexican stereotype, but a lot of people like Speedy Gonzales. They like him as a character, so they don't give a shit whether he's offensive or not. And I think that was the problem in this case, was the fans like Derpy, and they like the fact that they are acknowledging her in the show, and the fact that the fans kind of created this... She didn't have a role before, but the fans kind of created this character and backstory sort of around her. Maybe not necessarily a backstory, but they created a name for her, which I guess is... It's just a response to an accident, but the fandom took care of it, and they're like, okay, sure, we can run with that. And then you have these higher-ups come in and like, no, you don't get to do that because we know what's better for people than you do.
Yeah, and that's what pisses me off the most about it. The fact that this was done for us by the creators, but then was just overruled by these executives who... knee-jerk reaction to a few people complaining. Most of the fans didn't give a shit. They liked the original voice. I actually looked up, and apparently the voice actor who did the voice wasn't aware that Derpy was supposed to be a girl, and actually voiced it as a sort of young boy, which is why the voice is so deep in the original version. The second voice that she did, the one that's actually sort of girly.
Yeah, it's a bit more... I don't mind the second voice. It does sound a bit more chipper. The second one did sound almost too dumb for its own good. She could still be klutzy, which she was, but then it wasn't coming off as she's doing stuff that she thinks is going to be helpful but isn't, but instead she's like trying to be helpful, but she's just kind of a klutz.
Yeah.
I think the klutziness is a bit less offensive and a bit more acceptable than just being, I will helping, and break everything up. You do kind of see the comparison here.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying. Is it better that she's just accident prone, or that she's just klutzy, and I can understand why people would complain about it, but it's the fact that these changes were they were almost rushed out.
Yeah,
it's like
the fact that they retroactively changed the episode. Would people have complained so much if she had appeared like in another episode later and the changes had been instituted by then, like in her next appearance? Because this was pretty much her first appearance in a speaking role.
Only. I'm pretty sure they were given a gag order on Derpy after this episode.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it was that bad. That was the other thing that pissed me off, is that they were said for, as far as I know, just like, no, you can't have a fan-based character talking. We run the show. We tell you what characters can and can't talk. And they were literally forced to shove Derpy back into the background. And I mean, I didn't even spot her. She was so completely background character for so long that a lot of people thought that she'd been dropped from the show altogether because of this whole stupid debacle problem. And it's just, yeah, it winds me up so much that creators are trying to make this thing with the fans in mind. Then the higher ups get a couple of complaints, really, literally, like practically nobody actually complained about it.
It's the vocal
Certainly not
minority, is the thing.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
the vocal minority.
It's just, it winds me up that they would have such a knee-jerk reaction. I think I probably wouldn't be as mad if they had just changed the voice, but kept all the dialogue the same, including Rainbow Dash calling her Derpy.
Yeah, I did notice that as well.
Yeah, the fact they don't call her that in the revised version. And it's just like, well, if you'd have kept the Derpy reference in, just changing her voice, it would have been less of a blow, because it's like the executives telling the creators to get rid of all the stuff that the fans have put in.
It's like, we don't care how much you've worked to maintain a fan base. You have to make these changes because otherwise people will complain.
Yeah. And the weird thing
is, like, we don't want you to care about your fans. We want you to care about other people.
Stock prices or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. We want you to care about our
profit.
Yeah.
And that's just what really pisses me off and winds me up about it, is the fact that the show, as great as it was ultimately, it was effectively censored. Let's be honest.
It is.
It's
more
a
or
mild,
less censorship. Yeah.
It is mild. I'll admit. It's not like actual proper.
You wouldn't even notice it if you didn't. If anything, it was censored decently. I mean, you didn't even notice that anything has been changed unless you watch the comparison.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's censored well, but it is still a form of censorship. Yeah, they're getting rid of that word. They can't call her Derpy. They have to refer to her as something else now, like Ditzy or Muffins or something. And the thing is, in a couple of episodes, in what will be our next episode, but is 2 episodes on in the actual Pony series, there's something else that is going to happen that no one complained about, but I would argue should have been complained about just as much, but wasn't. And we'll get to that in the next episode. And I'll sort of mention it up because it's only on screen very, very briefly, which I don't know, maybe that's the reason why it wasn't complained about. But yeah, we'll get to that in the next episode. But yeah, it just gets on my nerves about the whole Derpygate thing.
Derpygate.
And it's actually called that.
One thing I did notice in that footage is when she shouts down into the hole, the echo is from the original dialogue.
Is it?
Yes.
I didn't.
The echo is from the original, but her prime voice is from the new dialogue.
Fair enough.
So,
but yeah, so
that part of her does live on.
Yeah, a part of the original Derpy lives on. So, oh god. Yeah, so that's the Derpygate scandal.
Yes, Derpy.
As Derpygate. I like calling it that. I think it's so stupid. Yeah, it's annoying that the higher ups would do that. And again, if they kept her being called Derpy, it wouldn't have been as a big of a problem. But they didn't, and they got rid of it.
They also changed the way her eyes look.
Yeah, they also adjusted her eyes
well,
slightly.
which is they still made them slightly off center, but not as pronounced as they were originally.
Yeah, if you actually look at the original picture of Derpy from the first episode, her eyes are completely opposite. You got one going at
down to
5
the left,
o'clock,
one going up to the right,
and one going up at 10 o'clock, and they are completely opposite, which is kind of where it comes from. And how much her eyes adjust in each episode depends on who's drawing it.
Right.
Her positioning because of her head and how onto the camera she is and everything. And I mean, there's even I can't even remember now, but there's a small child Philly version that shows up from time to time. And it's thought that that's her younger cousin or something.
Her younger cousin also is wall-eyed.
Apparently, maybe it's like a family trait or something.
So yes, that was our thoughts on Derpygate.
On the Derpygate scandal, yes.
Moving on to something a little less offensive.
Well, relatively so. This was quite a heavy episode again.
Oh yeah, this was the season 2 finale. So
yeah, season 2
big
finale.
stuff happening, and you finally figured out what happened with the fucking pool.
Yes, I worked it out about halfway through the episode because that's actually where we start. I mean, the episode is called ABQ. Which you said was the airline code
for Albuquerque.
For Albuquerque Airport, which is where the show is actually set, isn't it? Is it Albuquerque?
It's set in and around Albuquerque, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So we start again with the black and white pool. And in all the previous episodes where it's shown up, we've had little clips. But in this one, we get to see the full scene. And, you got the guy fishing the teddy bear with the really bad, creepy... I mean, who designs
creepy fucking eyes, yeah.
Yeah, who designs a teddy bear with these eyes are just bulging out of its head?
Maybe it was one of those cheap Chinese teddy bears.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. Or maybe the child had just squeezed it too hard.
Maybe. She would be understandable.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Shh, shh, shh. I'm not spoiling it until it happens. So yeah, we get that, and we see that a couple of people in body bags and seemingly collecting all this evidence scattered around. You got the teddy bear, and there's some other things, and they're lugging around an awful lot of evidence. And it seems like something really big happened here. And we even get a sort of a panned shot of Walter's house, and you can see just this fire spreading up from the back, as if something big like exploded or something.
And you got news copters circling.
Yeah, so clearly whatever the hell has happened has been fucking massive.
Oh yeah.
So you're wondering what the hell went on, and they even turned it to color in the end, which was quite nice. Because after seeing those hazmat guys, although to be honest, the hazmat guys are white in both versions. So
yeah.
who the hell?
No, the hazmat guys were yellow.
Were they yellow? I thought they were white. Oh, okay.
Not like it really matters. We're arguing about color.
Well, we got to argue about something. So,
did you not hear the argument we just had like 2 minutes ago?
Oh, we can keep arguing forever. I mean, that's what they're here for. They don't want to hear us getting on. They want to hear us having a go at each other. It's picking up pretty much from where the last one left off. Jesse desperately trying to revive Jane, despite the fact she's clearly been dead for most of the night. And he's a little broken up about the whole thing.
More than just a little. He is absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, so he calls Walter about it, who I can only assume contacts Soul, who contacts an unnamed friend. I don't think we actually hear his name in the episode, do we? He's just someone who Soul contacts when people need things fixed. So this guy goes to Jesse's place and cleans up, gets rid of all the drug paraphernalia, gets rid of all the money.
To make sure that the cops aren't going to be able to find anything. I don't know if it has been revealed, but his name is Mike Ehrmantraut.
Oh, fair enough. I don't believe his name was mentioned, but I mean, I kind of figured that if he's like a fixer, I suppose, is that the term?
Yeah, he's sort of a fixer, yeah.
Don't ask me how I even know that, because frankly, I haven't got the fucking clue. I probably picked it up from some film or other, but
Pulp Fiction.
I haven't seen Pulp Fiction. Yeah, we're going to be hearing that a lot from me. There are a lot of films I have not seen that I know for a fact you have, and vice versa, let's be honest.
Yeah, true.
So, he cleans up for Jesse, takes away everything that the police and whatnot might find suspicious, and tells Jesse his story. I woke up, I found her, that's all I know. He literally slaps it into Jesse.
Yeah, he's just, you don't fucking say anything else. You don't need to say anything more.
While Jesse's dealing with that, you've got Walter and family at breakfast.
Which seems to happen a lot. You see a lot of it. You got Walter and his family at breakfast.
Breakfast happens, like once a day. It tends to be this thing that comes around again. It's like lunch and dinner. It sort of happens, But they're sort of sitting down to breakfast, and Flynn calls them. And I love the scene that, Walter tries to calling him Junior twice, and Skylar's just like, call him Flynn. He's like, Flynn. He goes, what? It's just...
You're just loving the fact, because you fucking hate the name Walter Jr.
It's not that I hate the name Walter Jr. It's that I hate the idea of you calling your kid after yourself. It's so pretentious. It's the kind of thing that in this country, only upper class people do. In your country, everybody does it. I mean, come on, you had a president that was a junior, for fuck's sake. Look what happened then.
Oh, God. You do not blame him.
I can blame him.
You can hate him for any other number of reasons, but you can't hate him for being named Junior.
No, but I can blame his father for it. And so Flynn is all, excited because apparently $490 has come into the Donate to Walter White website. And, Flynn and Skylar are all excited, and Walter's just like, yeah, I can't get excited about this. I want to earn that.
Because he knows exactly what's going on. He knows it's exactly going according to plan. So if he's trying to not be suspicious about this, he's doing a very bad job of it.
I don't think it's too suspicious, because he said originally that he didn't want other people's charity. So I guess him not being too happy about it does kind of go along with that.
Yeah.
Because he kind of does begrudgingly nod. So the money that he earned is coming in to him via Soul's zombie
zombies, yeah.
And after that, we've got Jane's father, Donald, driving to her place, going to pick her up for rehab. And because they agreed to that, of course, he sees the ambulance, and he's watching them very unceremoniously putting Jane into the black plastic bag. I mean, I know they deal with that on a regular basis, but you think the father is in the room.
They usually don't expect the family to be there. They usually have them leave so they can be unceremonious and very...
I can understand why, because I would imagine lugging around a body, particularly a dead one, it's not something you can really do ceremoniously, is
No,
it?
it's not.
It's something that's going to be hard to do. Anyway, so they take Jane off. They sort of take all her details. I was actually expecting Donald to be a lot angrier at Jesse than he was, but
Yeah,
I suppose he
he just
was
seems to be kind of
shock.
yeah,
He's just
he's still in
complete
shock.
state of shock.
Pretty much throughout the entire episode, he's just kind of dead inside. He's just has showing
Yeah.
no
I
reaction
mean,
to this.
you have to sort of wonder. It doesn't really go too much into the details behind what he's thinking, but you have to wonder how much is he blaming Jesse, how much is he blaming Jane, how much is he blaming himself
Yeah,
for
that
this?
that as well.
Because I mean, okay, he could blame Jesse, but Jesse didn't get Jane hooked on the stuff in the first place. He may have got her back into it, although I don't know. That seems kind of questionable. I
Or
mean,
he may be blaming himself for the fact that he let her stay back one more day and didn't just drag her out immediately.
yeah,
Because
exactly. So
if he had just dragged her to rehab immediately, she would have survived likely.
yeah, that's highly likely. Or if he called the police on her in the first place, like he was gonna do, it would have all worked out. Well, potentially. I mean, you don't know how these things are gonna
So yeah,
work
you can
out.
see how many different things this is because that was him just erring on the side of compassion, I guess. So he's thinking if he was less compassionate, she would have survived, which is a strange way of going.
Yeah, it is sort of very odd in that sense, and I suppose that's probably all the thoughts and feelings that sort of running through his head. As I said, for the most part in the episode, he's just
He's
kind
just
of
very quiet.
yeah,
Yeah.
he isn't really doing anything. He's just sort of existing. But throughout this episode, sort of money is slowly pouring in to Flynn's website, of course unknown to them through these zombie accounts. And it gets to the point
At
where
a certain point, they've made so much money, and it's started to become such a public outreach. It becomes big enough that they actually go to the news about
yeah,
it.
Marie, in her infinite wisdom, decides to contact the local newspaper to get an article in there. Someone's going to come and interview Flynn about it and sort of talk about the site and how successful it's becoming. And I'm kind of wondering if that's going to come to anything, because if someone's getting all this money, is there a point where people might become suspicious about it? That all
With
this money is coming? Or do you think because it's a charity, people
with
would
if
be
it is
more
a charity, and if it is charitable donations, usually it is made. Well, in PayPal's case, charitable donations they always go through full, but you have to at a certain point you do have to kind of prove that it is going toward charity.
Yeah.
But if they have all these medical bills and things, then yeah, 'cause there is no law against asking for donations like that.
Well, I would imagine so. Yeah, so sort of the money's rolling in. They get these sort of people coming on the interview. While that's going on, you've also got Hank. Pretty much all the characters are in this
Yeah,
episode.
because it is the end of the season, so they wanted to make sure everything ties in together.
Yeah, and he's sort of got this big jar, also asking for money for Walter. Sort of just sets that down on the side, which I only mention because we'll come back to that later. And he's dealing with the death of Combo. From several episodes ago. And he believes that Heisenberg is still out there. And they don't know that someone else has taken over the selling of the blue meth, of course. So it's all interesting.
Yeah, because the guy they did arrest, he's starting to suspect this guy may be one of those people that goes to jail for a living.
Yeah, which
because he was, which shot in the dark, whatever.
Yeah, Jesse sort of runs off after the whole Jane incident, and Walter picks him up at some kind of crack house.
Yeah, it's like I cracked in. Just kind of, how the hell did he find him?
I don't know. I can only assume the guy because
I would assume Saul helped him, but geez.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I somehow doubt Jesse was quiet about going there. He probably just decided to run and just go, and he wanted to get away from everything. And Walter goes in to get him, and Jesse has a big old cry about it. And you kind of feel that Walter really does actually care for Jesse.
Yeah, because
despite what Walter puts him through and all the crap that Walter gives him, he does still kind of care. It is
very much kind of a surrogate father relationship.
Yeah.
With Jesse. I mean, even beyond the fact that he really can't do anything with his own son for any number of reasons.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice to see that sort of shown properly in this episode. As I said, in previous episodes, Walter really comes off as an asshole, and in this one, you kind of see his sort of softer side.
Well, even when he does come off as an asshole, he's doing it for positive reasons. Like, you don't want to lose the keys. Your dad will tell you that because I'm not a kid, I know how to do that, but still, he tells you that because he really doesn't want you to lose the keys. He doesn't want things to go wrong. So
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
this weird duality there.
Yeah, so you got all these things going on. Sort of, you got Flynn and his website's going really well. He's having the interview and everything like that. And I mentioned the Walter tip jar at Hank's workplace. Apparently, they're having is it a fun run?
Yeah, it's a fun
They were
run
planning.
of
They were
sorts.
planning a fun run at the office or something like that, and they were getting these sponsors in, and it shows the first two, and I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of weird. And then it just pans across, and the third sponsor turns out to be Gus, the frigging drug lord guy who owns that what is it called?
Those
Chicken
Pollos Hermanos, yeah.
the Ponies. And he actually recognizes Walter's picture from the tip jar. I don't know how he's gonna react now that he knows Walter has a DEA agent brother-in-law, if he's even going to care about it, but they wouldn't have shown it for no reason,
No, they
would
wouldn't,
they?
because I mean, the fact is that Gus is a very smart person. He's a very
Clearly.
smart drug dealer. He's not even directly dealing. He's a drug lord that treats it like a business
Mm,
because that's what it is. He's a businessman.
yeah.
He knows what he's doing. So I would even suspect that when he does go there, he's trying to get tabs on. I would imagine someone like him would work with the DEA and know what the
Yeah.
DEA is thinking about, what they're planning, what their actions are for how to deal with the drugs in the city, just so he knows how the era is going.
Exactly. I mean, it's very clearly Gus is very intelligent person. His sort of chicken restaurant front business.
It's still a legitimate business.
Yeah, it's
He
still a
makes
little bit
good
jig the
chicken, so they
business.
can obviously justify being a successful business and making all
Exactly,
this
and
money. But
but
obviously, it's still probably likely a front for just a way to launder their money from their drug industry.
exactly, and it's just like how that's gonna impact on Walter, because I mean I wasn't sure if we were even going to be seeing Gus again. Like he was just someone that Soul brought in, took all the meth, and then that was it. Because of course, I mean even sort of slightly earlier in the episode, Hank mentions about how the fact that all the blue meth has gone from their area and is now spreading itself around all the other states around it. So because of course Gus is the one selling it now, not Heisenberg in that sense. Of course, not that anybody else knows that,
Yeah,
but
it's just as long as it gets out there and they get their money.
exactly. So it's kind of interesting to see how this dynamic is now going to play up. Because as I said, they wouldn't have shown that for no reason. So that's clearly a plot thread they're keeping for season 3. Because I'm assuming by this point they knew there was going to be a third
Oh
season.
yeah, absolutely. I'm sure at
Um,
this point they kind of had carte blanche to do anything they wanted,
yeah,
and the show
exactly.
has just keeps on growing in popularity, keeps getting bigger and bigger, so they're able to go, oh, anything you want to do, we'll do it.
Yeah, unlike frigging Ponies that get censored because they decide to put in with a fan base character. Sorry.
Hmm. But
um,
you're not bitter about it or anything.
no, not bitter at all. Um,
Moving on.
yeah, moving swiftly on before we get back to talking about all that again. Walter kind of leaves Jesse at a kind of relaxation spa type community place because Jesse was really completely torn up. I mean, not only has he lost his sort of girlfriend Jane, he's lost his friend Combo pretty much in the space of a week.
Yeah, which is definitely not good. I mean, he's recovering from 2 deaths, both
Yeah,
of which
so
he feels responsible for.
yeah, I mean, he's kind of hit a low point in his life. And I really want to hope that things sort of start improving for him. Because it's weird, because at this point of the episode, because after Walter drops Jesse off, he goes home. They had the whole interview thing there, and it turns out that not only is Flynn getting on in the papers, he's actually getting on the local news. And they have this sort of interview where sort of Flynn's sort of talking about Walter
And
and
I love how fake everything was when they're doing all the news, because like, okay, we want to make sure you have your crutches in frame because they have to know that you're crippled. And she doesn't
yeah.
even refer to the parents by name. She just says, okay, we'll have Walter Jr. We'll have the mom and dad on either
Yeah, the
side.
mother and the father, doesn't she? The mom and the dad, she calls them, and it's just that just kind of just sums up news, really.
Yeah, pretty much, at least in America.
Oh no,
I'm
it's
sure
pretty
news in
much.
the UK is just as fake though.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. I barely even watch the news anymore. I just can't watch it because of just it's you just sit there for half an hour and the news people are telling you what you should be feeling about this.
It
It's
was a
not like
great day today. Here's a bunch of horrible things that happened.
exactly. And it's like how they always end with the nice story to give you a sort of sense of hope at the end of it all. And it's just like it's not news used to report facts. Now they just tell you the facts and then tell you what you're supposed to think about them. Used to be here's some facts, form your own conclusions. Now, here's some facts, this is what you think about them so we can control and manipulate you. Which is true. Don't call me out on being all paranoid here. That is so bleeding true. Anyone who knows anything about how the news actually works, and I'm not just talking like television news. I'm talking like newspapers,
Newspapers,
magazines.
tabloids, even internet news, like stuff like fucking Gawker Media.
Yeah, it's all designed because everyone who writes it has an agenda, and people, it's very hard to just give facts because everyone has a point of view that they want to try to get across. Anyway, that's one tangent that I probably
Yeah,
shouldn't have gone
that's
down,
one tangent that we really don't need to get into today.
Oh boy, howdy, yeah. Christ, I forgot even where the hell we were in the episode. Yeah. Anyway, the interview. Walter's reaction to sort of Flynn saying, because Flynn's saying all these sort of nice things about him, and Walter's just sort of sitting there, and you think, what the hell is going through his head? Because he kind of looks like he's going to start crying, but he also looks like he's thinking about all the things he's done, I think. Like all the people that he's killed or gotten killed over the space of the last, I don't know what it is, 2-3 months of
Yeah, I'd imagine it's
showtime.
about that much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's interesting sort of watching his reaction to all that and sort of how clearly he went very inside himself at that point. I mean, even aside from the fact that he didn't want to go on national television
No,
or
definitely not.
regional television at least. But then we get to the big operation that's been planning. It hasn't really been mentioned for a little while, but Walter's having an operation to remove the
Yeah,
cancer.
I can remove what's left of his cancerous tumor.
Yeah, which seemingly goes very well, the operation itself. Slight hitch, unfortunately, when he gets doped up and he's sort of away with the fairies, as it were. Um,
That's a good way of putting it.
he accidentally lets slip to Skylar that he has 2 cell phones, which he originally denied quite strenuously, and Skylar sort of kind of believed him.
Well,
Yeah, so
because at that point he didn't have two cell phones. The other
well,
one
no,
was
because one of
destroyed.
them had been destroyed with the whole Tuco incident. Skylar says, "Where's your cell phone? And, I'll keep it away from you." And he just goes, "Which cell phone?" And I'm just like, "Oh
Oh,
no,
and
you
that's
just
oh
say that." So
jeez.
he goes in for his operation, and suddenly we cut to I think it's like 5-6 weeks later. Literally just completely cut to it out of absolutely nowhere, where he's recovered from his operation. It went well. I mean, they could have had a whole section where he was recovering in hospital. No, cut that, cut that. It's weird
Because
how they kind
it's
of
boring, and you don't need to know. You just need to know he got better.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it is kind of weird some of the things they decide to cut and some of the things they decide to focus on.
Yeah, because
And
in the previous episode we were talking about how they decided to cut out the whole thing with him
with the
doing the
money,
drug deal.
yeah, exactly. I mean, they could have made an entire episode out of that,
Yeah,
but
they
they
definitely
didn't.
could have.
So anyway, they cut that out, and so he's talking with his doctors. He says, so like, I feel like I'm getting better. Is it okay for me to start doing things? And they seem very sort of happy and optimistic about it. Unfortunately, the whole thing about Skylar hearing about the second cell phone subsequently comes back to bite him in the ass big time. Because pretty much Skylar tells him to get the fuck out of his house. She sort of, after the whole cell phone incident thing when he was in the hospital, she sort of
She
comes to the
started doing her own
conclusion.
investigative
Yeah, I mean,
research.
she's often suspected that he's been having an affair. So she sort of starts phoning around because she believes that it was with Gretchen Swartz, who characters from, I think last time we saw them was it in this, were they in the second season? I think they
I
were,
think it was
but
like early in the second season, but
very early.
they were the ones that were very well off and offered to pay for all those.
Yeah, they kind of got rich on stuff that Walter may have done for them, which is a sort of a bone of contention between them. And of course, Skylar believes that Gretchen Swartz and what the hell was his name? Elliot were paying for Walter's treatment. When she finally managed to get hold of Gretchen, she found out that not only were they not having an affair, that they hadn't paid any of the money for Walter's treatment, despite the fact that pretty much all of the money had been paid off, which she finds massively suspicious.
Yeah, anybody would.
Yeah, well, yeah, understandably. But she also contacted Walter's mother and found out that not only did no money come from her, but Walter never went to see her during that 4-day period when he was trapped in the caravan in the middle of the desert.
All of Walter's lies are just kind of crashing down. He
the
has
whole
nothing to
pack
hide
of
behind
cards.
anymore.
Yeah, his whole pack of lie cards just crashed down around him at the moment. And basically Skylar is just, she's had enough. She's leaving. She's going off to stay with Hank and Marie for a while, and she wants Walter out of the house. And he actually offers to tell her the truth. And I was like curious, if she had taken you up on that offer, what would you have told her? Would he actually have told her the truth, do you think? Or do you think he was just have said anything to get her back in the house?
I think at this point, since he does have all this money and really no more meth on him, since he's not really holding anything illegal, he probably would tell her.
Yeah, but that would raise its own can of worms.
Yes, it certainly would.
Especially with Hank being a TEA agent.
Yes, very much.
Anyway, in the end, Skylar just drives off. That's her bit for the end of the episode.
So while everything is crashing down around Walter...
Oh, yeah. I intentionally skipped over this little scene, but throughout the episode, it occasionally cuts to Jane's father, Donald, who's obviously dealing with the death of Jane and sort of picking out a dress for her and presumably arranging her funeral and everything. And of course, after the 7-week or whatever it was break that we had while Walter was recovering from the operation, he has sort of got past that and has decided to go back to work. Because as he says, there's only so much time you can spend just sitting on your ass doing nothing.
Yeah, so he decides to go back to work, where it turns out he is an air traffic controller.
Yeah, he seemingly works for air traffic control, and the second I saw him doing that, I mean, you probably heard the noises I was making.
Yes.
I just thought, oh God, no, I know exactly what's going to happen right now. And sure enough, I don't know if he did it by accident or on purpose, okay? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to come back or not. But essentially, he was clearly so overwhelmed by what had happened that either deliberately or accidentally, he causes 2 planes to crash in the air. It just happens to be over Walter's house.
Over his neighborhood, but yeah.
Well, yeah, over his neighborhood. Not like directly over his house, but over the city of Albuquerque, pretty much, I think. And that is where all the stuff from the black and white swimming pool came from. The toy bear, the book, the shoes, all the debris scattered on the ground. That's why there's smoke drifting up in the background, was because there was a pretty damn catastrophic plane crash, which technically is Walter's fault. I say technically.
Yeah.
I mean, I say technically because if he hadn't let Jane die,
or even if he hadn't
gone there in the first place, then she wouldn't have died. Donald wouldn't have been in his state, and the planes wouldn't have crashed. Now, I know that's one hell of a stretch, and you never know the true consequences of your actions when you do something.
And you could even argue that it was technically Donald's fault, because if they hadn't had that conversation, he would never have gone back there. Where he talks about not giving up on your kids.
How do you mean never gone back there? Oh, you mean
Walter when he was talking with Donald in the bar, and Walter would not have gone back to just kind of try to make amends with Jesse.
But it's interesting to sort of see the ultimate consequences of everything, because I mean the plane crash probably wouldn't have happened if none of these events in the show had happened.
True.
In a very sort of indirect way. It's kind of weird to talk about sort of causality and actions and consequences because it gets insanely complicated.
Oh, yeah, I guess. But the thing is, this was in there since the first episode of the season. They knew. Yeah,
they had clearly been planning.
Knew they were on this railroad to this ultimate end. With the entire season.
In a way, the whole second season was building to that. It's as if to say, everything that's happened in the second season has led to this point. This horrible plane crash. It's kind of if to say it's what's going on in the episodes is building to this in an almost direct fashion. You know, like everything that's happened throughout the entire the second season. You know, the things with Tuco at the beginning and all that other stuff, and just it's just built to that moment, that end scene where you just hear that gigantic explosion from overhead, and Walter looks up, horrified to see these what is clearly pieces of an airplane in the air. And I still say that frigging plush toy made way too big of a splash when it landed in that pool.
Yeah, it would not have fallen that quickly, even being jettisoned out of an air explosion. You'd think the fur would cause it to have a much lower terminal velocity because of the air resistance, but you never
Yeah, but
know.
I mean, it hits the thing like a bloody bowling ball or something. But
Yeah,
whatever, and so mystery solved. We now know what happened, what the hell the deal was with that black and white swimming pool, and that is one hell of a way to end a season
and
because
we
we've
also
got
know what the other significance of 737 is.
yes, which is also the type of airplane. You said that shows up a lot. Like there's a lot of different
Like
significances to
multiple meanings for terms,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like a recurring theme that shows up every now and then,
Yeah.
which is it's always fun when shows do things like that. You sort of again, it's like Derpy showing up in all those episodes. Oh God, we're back to her again. Um,
Always with the parallels.
oh God, yes, there are actually a lot of parallels because I mean, because when we started this whole thing, we didn't think there'd be quite as many parallels as there actually
No,
were.
we just decided these are both two very good shows that we neither of us have seen the other one, so sure, why
It
not?
was kind of almost a joke, really. It's like,
Yeah,
do you think we could
that's
do a
why it came
podcast
out on
about
April
this?
Fool's Day.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. So, yeah, that's it for season 2 of Breaking Bad, really. Obviously, very, very curious about what the hell's going to happen in the next season. They've got a lot to work with, this whole, how is Jesse going to be after all this? What's going to happen to Walter? Is he going to get kicked out?
And
Are him and
you
Skyler going
got
to split
Gus,
up?
you got all of Gus's plans, you got the website going on, you got the
Yes.
still the aftermath of this plane crash.
Yeah, presumably. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that are going to happen. So, I'm really, really interested. And at least I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait 6 months for the conclusion to this.
Yes, you're gonna have to wait for the next season. We can get into that just next week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, thanks for
Yeah,
listening to me
that should
rant.
do it for season 2,
Yeah.
and we will see you folks next time.
See ya. Bye.